A recent poll found three-quarters of American voters believe U.S. democracy is under threat. One political party believes the country is threatened by fascism and dictatorship. The other feels the nation itself is under threat of destruction due to leftist open border policies. Well, our next guest believes big government has gradually changed America by advancing socialist ideology throughout the U.S. institutions and culture. J.T. Young is author of Unprecedented Assault: How Big Government Unleashed America's Socialist Left. J.T., thanks for being with us. Politicians come and go, but government bureaucrats are entrenched. They're really the ones with the longevity to effect change. So give us some examples. How have they moved America closer to embracing socialism?
It's a great question, Gary, and I really want to thank you for having me on the show today. Just as you said, politicians come and go, bureaucrats are forever. What we have seen basically since the Great Society, that laid the groundwork for the building of a government that is now consuming up to 25% of the nation's GDP. The socialist left doesn't need to build a big government. A big government now just exists. So really all they have to do is move that government into policy areas that favor their policies. And in confluence with that, we see a current administration that is seeing their base eroded, and they are now completely dependent on the left in general. And the socialist left has been ascendant within that left.
And this didn't happen overnight. Many people think it started with Barack Obama, but you believe the transformation began long ago. So tell us about that.
Well, you can find precedents all the way back to the New Deal. I would not say that that's when big government started, but certainly when we laid the groundwork that we made an entitlement program permanent. For the first time during the New Deal, we got Social Security, which made entitlements permanent in respect that now everyone who is entering the workforce in qualified areas were going to be part of a permanent entitlement program. And we also saw the income tax via the payroll tax used to fund this. So those were two huge precedents, but what they were really capitalized on is in the Great Society with Lyndon Johnson, where we got Medicare, Medicaid, then welfare, as well as other programs. And of course, the payroll tax was also expanded at the same time. So then following that, as you mentioned, certainly with Barack Obama, the government had already grown to a great extent. But over the 6 decades from when the Great Society started to now, we've just seen a steady increase in that government.
Donald Trump believes he can save America from socialism. So how can we do that when the bureaucracy is so entrenched? You can appoint leaders of change, but if the people under them slow down executive actions and resist policy changes, how can the country reverse course?
It's a great question. And obviously, we heard during President Trump's first term, complaints about the deep state. But I do think that there are ways that you can take action to roll this back. Certainly, obviously, we need to review the programs themselves. I think in general, we need to take these entitlement programs and the social safety net back to its original intent. I don't think any conservatives are talking about ending a social safety net, but the social safety net was never meant to be permanent and a way of life, sadly, for too many people, which then traps them as clients of these programs and never really allows them to advance. So I think a thorough review of existing programs, the same would apply to regulations, which are just invisible taxes.
So what else needs to be done to return to McCarthyism, weeding extremists out of government? Leftists say Donald Trump wants to round up his political opponents on the left and imprison them. Certainly you're not suggesting that. Wouldn't that threaten democracy?
No, of course not. I mean, of course, we're not. No one is suggesting that, and I would think that what we're really wanting to see is a thorough accountability of where government money is going. I mean, we're running deficits that are now close to $2 trillion a year. And I don't think it's unreasonable to hold accountable people who are receiving that money as to where the money's going, what it's being used for, how it's being used. And I think it's also incumbent on the government itself when you're running deficits of these size, and we know they're unsustainable. Why are we not asking these questions? We ask these questions of the private sector, and accountability is increasingly being demanded, but we don't see the same thing on the public sector. And I think it's well past time that that accountability is being required of people who receive government money.
Okay, the book is Unprecedented Assault: How Big Government Unleashed America's Socialist Left. J.T. Young, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Gary, for having me.